Your journey toward diabetes recovery starts with evaluating the coffee you drink. Seize control of your diabetes management with informed choices. Discover the shocking truth about how coffee affects your blood sugar immediately after drinking and the long term effects of coffee on your diabetes.
I better manifest some coffee.
The discussion revolves around a study that examined various experiments on how the intake of coffee or pure caffeine influences people's blood sugar and insulin sensitivity immediately after consumption. The results indicated that both coffee and pure caffeine led to a rise in blood sugar shortly after ingestion, despite the absence of sugar in these substances. Notably, only pure caffeine significantly reduced insulin sensitivity, while the consumption of coffee had no impact on insulin sensitivity in the studies analyzed. It's important to note that these findings are specific to the short term, immediately after consuming coffee, and suggest that the effects of coffee may depend on what it is consumed with. In the study, it was discovered that having coffee with food, regardless of whether the food has a high or low glycemic index, meaning its impact on blood sugar, strengthens the combined effect on blood sugar. So, considering that coffee causes a temporary increase in blood sugar levels after consumption, the question arises, could this have negative implications for long term blood sugar control and insulin sensitivity? Well, in a study that went on for 8 weeks, researchers explored how drinking coffee affected how well people control their blood sugar. They had 45 participants drink 5 cups a day of either water, decaf coffee, or regular coffee. After looking at various aspects of blood sugar control, like glucose tolerance, insulin levels, and sensitivity, they found that there were no differences among the three groups. Whether people had 5 cups a day of coffee, water, or decaf coffee, it didn't change their ability to control blood sugar as measured by different markers in the study. In another study lasting 24 weeks, participants received 4 cups daily of either regular coffee or a caffeine free coffee like placebo. The researchers observed no variations in participants' ability to control blood sugar. Currently, the evidence suggests that although coffee can cause a temporary increase in blood sugar after consumption, it doesn't impact the long term ability to control blood sugar. There were no changes in fasting blood sugar or insulin sensitivity over the long term of the study. It's like saying having spikes in blood sugar after meals doesn't cause insulin resistance, which is something we already knew. It's just a common misunderstanding that having high blood sugar after eating is what leads to insulin resistance. But in reality, that's not the case. But what about in the long term, like over many years? Could drinking coffee and experiencing these blood sugar spikes increase the chances of developing type 2 diabetes in the long run? Well, a significant study, along with several others supporting it, examined how coffee consumption relates to the long term risk of developing type 2 diabetes. This analysis included 450,000 people, and researchers found that for each extra cup of coffee consumed daily, the future risk of developing type 2 diabetes decreases by 7%. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. Furthermore, another extensive study, following 17,000 people for nearly a decade, uncovered an interesting finding. Individuals who consumed 7 or more cups of coffee per day had only half the risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to those with 2 or fewer cups per day. The point here is that the more coffee is consumed, the better it seems to be in terms of lowering the risk for type 2 diabetes. However, it's important to note that this doesn't mean one should consume excessive amounts of caffeine, especially for those with sensitivity to coffee or any heart issues. The main takeaway is that there's strong evidence suggesting that coffee consumption can be beneficial for reducing the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Coming up, We'll uncover how coffee affects blood sugar in individuals with diabetes and the significant implications it may have. Why coffee appears to reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes despite causing a rise in blood sugar each time it's consumed is not fully understood yet. One hypothesis suggests that coffee's potential benefits for diabetes risk may be linked to the presence of polyphenols, a class of compounds found in plants. These polyphenols are thought to be beneficial for various bodily systems, offering a possible explanation for coffee's positive impact on diabetes risk. But what if someone already has diabetes? What does coffee do then? Well, not surprisingly, considering its general effects, coffee still causes a spike in blood sugar for people with diabetes. This is not so harmless if you already have diabetes, and some of these effects can be quite significant. For instance, a careful review of 9 studies discovered that drinking coffee increased people's blood sugar levels, AUC, by up to 30% in those with diabetes. It also led to a need for up to 50% more insulin and reduced their insulin sensitivity by up to 30%. It's important to note that these numbers represent the maximum effects found, so drinking coffee might have smaller effects if you have diabetes. The key thing to understand here is that because coffee can increase blood sugar, it's crucial to keep track and be mindful of how it affects blood sugar control, particularly for individuals with type 2 diabetes. Additionally, it's important to note that just because coffee causes a short term spike in blood sugar doesn't necessarily mean it's making diabetes worse in the long term. There's even a chance it could be beneficial, but there aren't enough studies on coffee and type 2 diabetes yet. While there are numerous studies on how coffee consumption predicts the long term risk of getting type 2 diabetes, there's insufficient research on those who already have it. We hope that more research will be conducted in the future. For now, based on this research, if someone has diabetes, enjoys coffee, and is keeping an eye on blood sugar levels, there's no reason to stop. In fact, it might even be helpful, although we still have more to learn about it. Unfortunately, there's even less information available on how coffee affects type 1 diabetes, so we don't know much either way. It's a bit frustrating not having enough data on this. While coffee may cause a temporary blood sugar spike, it doesn't have a lasting impact on overall levels or insulin sensitivity. Increased coffee consumption is even linked to a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. For those managing diabetes, understanding the interaction of coffee with blood sugar is crucial, especially when combined with food. As research progresses, these insights empower informed choices about coffee consumption for both short term effects and potential long term benefits in diabetes management. If you found this information useful, please show your support by giving us a thumbs up. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments section. To stay updated with more valuable content on health, nutrition, and well being, consider subscribing to our channel. Your engagement and support mean a lot to us. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, we wish you the best on your journey to managing diabetes.